we're doing that and reading some more Am I the Arsehole? So I hope you are ready for some more juicy bits and pieces. I've picked out a couple of stories again, which I haven't read through. I've only read the titles, and this time I'm not an idiot, realising that updates are not when they've edited the post, it's just another post. So, but we're going to jump into it. So, we're going to start with the first one, which is, am I the arsehole for refusing to hear my wife out on why she acted the way she did when I cried? Interesting. Sorry for the mouthful. Title. Last Thursday, I, 47M, had by far the worst day of my professional career in my life. It started with a mistake that I made a few months back coming to light, which caused an enormous issue for my entire office. My boss yelled at me. First of all, terrible boss. In front of 20 people, even worse. And many of them had to help rewrite, print and reorganise the documents that I blundered on. I'm gonna pause it right there. First of all, what the fuck is your boss doing? Piece of shit, terrible management. I drove home in a daze that day, then I walked into the door to find my wife, 36F, on the sofa on her phone. She immediately said to me, "So what's for dinner?" I absolutely hate that question. I know, I feel that as well. Especially if you're feeling overwhelmed, it just feels like the worst question to be asked. I've told her again and again, I just worked 10 hours. She's a stay-at-home wife. She had all day to think about what's for dinner. Something just snapped and I began crying. Well, I thought he was going to shout there, I'll be honest. I thought that's what he was about to say. Of course, I understand that she might be shocked here. I was too. I hadn't cried properly since elementary school. When I looked over at her, I saw her pointing her phone in my direction. Ooh. She was kind of smirking too. It may have been that she felt awkward, but for obvious reasons, this upset me more. When I asked her what the hell her problem was, she said I was having a mental break, that she should keep evidence on her phone. That's a divorce. That's it. That'll be done for me. No way. No way that'll be done. I don't give a shit. Wow, that actually infuriates the shit out of me. Immediately, I walked out, got in my car, drove away, as you should, stayed in a cheap motel that night, ignored all of her calls and texts. Good. The next morning, I went home around 4 in the morning to gather all my necessary belongings, ignoring her in the process. I left again, went to work, and over the weekend, I stayed in the same motel. My wife texted me a few hours ago saying that I was being a huge arsehole for not giving her the opportunity to explain herself. There's nothing to explain. Should I have handled this differently? No, absolutely not. You're not the arsehole. You're not the arsehole for getting something wrong at work. People make mistakes. Your boss is an arsehole for shouting at you, not just in general, but in front of the entire staff, in front of 20 people and your co-workers. Yeah, awful. He's just shit at management, and shouldn't be in that position. But your wife, that is the kind of behaviour I would expect from a teenager, not a 36-year-old woman. I urge you, if you're you're never going to see this video, but any of you in the same position, I urge you in that situation to tell them what they think their reaction would be if you had just done what they did. Because God forbid that you do that. That's crazy. Am I the arsehole for keeping my 6-year-old son here with me instead of leaving with his dad for the summer? His dad bought one-way tickets to another state, but didn't buy the return flight and won't send me the itinerary. Okay, this one looked interesting, so here we go. Backstory. So his dad and I are not on good terms. Our child is 6. We have not been together mainly the whole time he's been alive, but I've always tried to look out for his dad because I care about him, but he's never had good intentions when it comes to me, and not unless it benefits him. As of recently, we agreed he could go with him for the summer, end of May until August. Only the dates were discussed, and this is our first time having our son leave to go with him for summer. Prior to this, we've all mainly lived together. I wanted to see the flight itinerary so I know for sure he's bringing him back, and just in case anything happened to them on the flight, I want to know which airline and city they flew to. And I want to be prepared to have him ready to go when he gets back. Yeah, that's fair. He doesn't want to help give me a peace of mind. He says I'm trying to be controlling and that it's not his responsibility to comfort, assure, or pacify me. This guy should not be taking your kid, I'm sorry. So I told him I would keep our son home. Yes, you are right. That's the right decision. I've decided my best when it comes to co-parenting. I've tried my best, not decided. Oh my gosh, like my eyes are fucked. I've tried my best when it comes to parenting, but he makes it so hard. He thinks the worst of me, and it's the reason we're not even together in the first place. I experienced cheating, neglect, mental and verbal abuse from him. Please do not let him take your kid, ever. So now he's saying he'll take me to court and he thinks he'll win. No, he won't. He has a domestic violence case, and I smoke. He has a domestic violence case, and I smoke marijuana. And he proceeded to throw in my face something that happened out of my control with my family. I'm so tired of the disrespect from him. It's causing me a lot of emotional distress. I just feel like giving up. I never wanted to bring the government into our lives. I've always wanted a happy, loving family for my kids, and I just hate that things are this bad. It hurts when you try to lift people up and they're so quick to tear you down. Don't know what to do. You do know what to do. You know what to do because you did it already. You made the right decision first of all. You left his ass. What a fucking arsehole he seems like. If he has a domestic violence case to get against him, why the fuck would he take that kid? Also, why the fuck does he think he'll win in a court case to take a child when he has a domestic violence case against him? That's just ridiculous. I guess it depends on what state you're in, depending on the marijuana, right? Because, I mean, I don't really know much about the sort of legalization of that in America. I know some states it's different, but generally speaking, yeah. In terms of like taking the kid away, I understand the concern. It's not the first time something like this would have happened. Like the fear in your mind. There are people that take their kids away and then just drop contact and they're gone forever, and it's awful. And I don't know if there's like any extradition between states in terms of stuff like that. But you have a good maternal gut instinct. I would not trust him at all. Obviously we only hear one side of the story, but regardless of the side of the story it is, it's absolutely a red flag that he is not telling you even the flight numbers, right? Even if he wasn't telling you, even if they hadn't booked the return flight, the fact he's not even told you what the flights are, I don't think that's fair at all. That's ridiculous. I'm not really sure how the flight situation works. Like, maybe the return flight, like if he had explained to you, like, look, I haven't booked the return flight only because we're thinking of like doing a little bit of like a road trip here, and I don't know which day of this week we will be back in the city, and I don't want to book it and then find out that we can't make it and then have to book another flight. So the plan is to come back on these days, but I don't know the exact date yet. As soon as I book a flight, I will let you know. If he said that, that would at least be a reassuring thing. And if he'd been like, I'm gonna keep you updated every day where we are, what we're doing, because it's their kid, you know. Like at the end of the day, like yes, it's his son, but it's also her son, and wanting to know that they are safe, not just because it's her kid and you know he's going away into another state when he's 6 years old. Okay, if he was a teenager, maybe there's a little less. I would still argue it's fine, but it's a 6-year-old kid. I'm not being funny, but that's stupid. Like letting them know. has custody. There's probably a reason for that, you know. But like, he has a domestic violence case against him. This is a short one. Am I the arsehole for paying for my daughter's wedding? Which is interesting because I didn't think, like usually is for not paying. I gamble from time to time, and I recently won like life-changing big. Oh, well done, congratulations. Thrilled about my luck, I decided to surprise my daughter by paying for her entire wedding. That's amazing. I love her and her new fiance. The catch, I didn't tell anyone that the money was from gambling, especially since my future son-in-law's dad has a serious history with a gambling addiction. I wanted to avoid any drama. Everything was going smoothly until a relative who knew about my wins spilled the beans at our family dinner. Chaos ensued. My daughter and her fiance felt betrayed that I kept it a secret, accusing me of being insensitive given the family history. They argued that I should have been transparent so they could have made an informed decision about accepting the money. To make matters worse, the fiance's dad is now questioning his own recovery, feeling triggered by the revelation. His family is blaming me for potentially derailing his progress. On top of that, the other family members have started taking his side, creating a divide that wasn't there before. I thought I was doing everyone a favour by covering the wedding and protecting them from the truth. Okay, this is complicated about the money's origin, but I'm not so sure now. I'm at the arsehole for trying to keep the peace. I don't... Look, this is not black and white. You're not an arsehole, clearly. You were willing to spend the money that you made not on yourself but on your daughter and her fiance that you care about. That is an unbelievably generous thing to do for a family member. That is undoubtedly a good thing, and anyone that questions that is just, upset about the other thing. However, you made a bad decision. They are right that you should have told them. You should. It's very complicated because it's kind of your business, obviously, where that money came from. But at the same time, you know that family struggles with that. So what you should have done is talked to them and said, look, I have won all of this money, and I want to do this amazing thing for you, but you need to know where it came from. I dabble in gambling, it's not that deep, but I won a major amount of money, and I want to use that to pay for your wedding, but I know that your dad has issues with gambling, and I do not want it to be an issue, so I want you to make that decision. This is your choice whether you use this money or not. You have made that decision for them, and that is a bad thing to do. You did make a bad choice, but you did it, and it's sad because you did it for the right reasons, right? You did it because you wanted to protect them, you wanted to do this nice thing, and you didn't want them to reject it, but you've got to understand that it was their choice to reject it, not yours, and you may have inadvertently caused that situation, because if you had said no, then the dad, it would never have been brought up, and that said, ultimately, they can't blame him for their dad's addiction. That's not fair. That is unfair, and the reason for that being is, regardless of whether it is being used to pay for the wedding, that money exists. They can't say to him, oh, it's your fault, because you do what you want to in your free time, you triggered our dad into gambling again. That's not fair. If it hadn't been used for the wedding, right? Because they would inevitably find out that he made all that money, right? It's hard. If it's really that massive amount of money, then there's no way that the other family are not going to find out about that, right? It's going to come up. So, either way, that dad is probably going to find out and probably would have had that struggle regardless. So I don't think covering the wedding made any difference to that, in my opinion. And so it is unfair to blame him for that. But they're angry at the lying and the lying by omission, and so they're using that as kind of like it's a catalyst. Like it's now that it's an excuse to be angry about all these other things, and it's kind of getting lumped in with it when it's not. That's not actually his fault, because in reality, like it's kind of the equivalent of like being angry at. I mean, actually, that isn't really as applicable, I guess. Yeah, I was going to say something like if someone had gone out drinking all night, like it could still trigger someone, right? If you'd, it's not the same situation, so the analogy won't work. So there's no point kind of bringing it up now. But yeah, I think given the context of it, if he found out that he made that money, I think he still would have struggled and been like, wait, if he can win that money, then so can I, and like could have gone back to gambling. So I don't think that's fair, but you should not have lied to your family. That was wrong, and I'm curious now to see what other people have said on that. Someone said, not the arsehole, your family members are a little extreme. It's not like this money proceeds from a crime. You are not gambling. You are not responsible for the actions. For the decisions an addict makes. That is true, but also I was kind of agreeing with that, but like the issue here is that this person has completely neglected the fact that he lied to his daughter. That's wrong. What he did was wrong. He lied. The rest of it was great, but he did make a bad decision, and I think it's important to acknowledge that. I think a lot of people here, I think, are wrong. Everyone is just saying, no, the arsehole is none of their business. I mean, that's true, but the context is important, right? The context is important. Like, if he accepted, no one here has any empathy, I'm going to be honest. Because if that was me and my dad had suffered with gambling, and my fiance's dad had given money and it was all from gambling, I would feel like I want to know that. I would want to know that because it's important to my moral standing, where the money comes from. I think that's... Yeah, this is... I think people not understanding, it's not the fact that he gave the money, it's the fact that he didn't give them the choice to accept it or deny it based on the context. I'm actually so surprised everyone thinks that just giving money makes him not the arsehole. Money is money, my god. I've never seen so many people be like, jeez, what the fuck? He lied to his kids about where it came from. Wow. If it was me, lying to your family is a bad thing, but apparently not according to other people. Hot take, I guess. That's my hot take. Maybe you disagree with me. That's fair. Let me know if you have what your hot take on this story was in the comments. But that's going to wrap us up for today. Thank you very much for listening in. If you enjoyed, drop a like. If you are not subscribed, consider hitting that subscribe button. Check out some of the videos appearing on the screen right now, and I'll see you in whatever video comes next. Take care. Bye bye.